Yeah, thanks, Karts. I always remember I've been very fortunate to be involved in this fantastic discovery, and Karts used to ring me and he said, I love this discovery. He said, it's big, it's wide, and it's getting fatter, just like me. So, so we've had a bit of fun there, and I will note you've got Hayden Bartrop joining you. The last discussion I had with him, he was handing us $26 million yesterday. So that's the last thing he does at Gold Road. We'll remember him fondly as well. But look, I'm not here to talk about that. Actually, oddly, I do touch on it a little bit later. But I have come on to Nimy as a chairman. We have far more technical people than I involved with the company. So if you're expecting a technical dissertation, you are going to be disappointed, but you can come to the booth afterwards and talk to the people who do know about it. Okay, I've got control here, sorry. So to start with, we listed back in November of last year. So things like ESG credentials, you're not going to be hearing from us because we've been more worried about how do you access a rig, where do you get a geologist, etc., etc. Why did I get involved with Nimy? There's a few different reasons, and part of it's the gentleman just beneath me there, Luke Hampson. He's a friend of mine, but he's also been on this project for 6 years. He does all the work himself. He gets out there and fixes up what needs to be fixed up. There's a little story there that the Nimy is named after the Nimy Bridge, which in World War I was one of the first wars, one of the first battles, and his great-great-uncle or thereabouts won a VC at Nimy. So I actually quite like that story too. You get involved with these companies for different reasons sometimes. Also, so it's effort, but there's scale. We've got a large tenement area. We had a large tenement area and we've added to it in a new greenstone belt, and we'll talk about that shortly. So Luke has done a lot of self-taught geology. I'll give note Christian Price, who's our fellow executive director there, as well as a mining engineer, and does a lot of the background work and is very supportive to everyone on the board. Recently, we've employed a chap called Fergus Jockle, who is an old contact of mine. He and I used to work at Anaconda Nickel many, many years ago together, a very experienced geologist, and lucky to have experienced geologists because they are hard to come by. Fergus, when I had a beer with him and I said, I found a Gossan. And he said, I like Gossans. And he came on board and joined us. So that is the main team there. So as noted, we do have a large land holding. We own 100% of it, 2,500 square kilometres approximately. It's within the Yilgarn Craton, where along the structural boundary between Forestania to the south and you and me to the north, same structural boundary and a lot of similar characteristics to it, 370 kilometres to the northeast of Perth. I mean, you can all read that. Significant pipeline of targets. Now, those targets really are the targets that Luke has come up with on his original ground that he had worked on for 6 years. There's a whole host of other targets because we have pegged a lot of other ground, mainly to the north there that you can see. And that's one of Fergus's challenges as to how we start categorising our exploration potential there. But it does have district scale potential to it, and that is an attractive item to it. So when we first got involved, on the left you can see how it was being shown in the geological maps. On the right, we've found mafic, ultramafic sequences. We have identified it as a greenstone belt. And look, I always like telling the story that, again, if I do hark back to my fortune at De Grey, we were always told that there's no gold in the Pilbara. Western Australia has had 3 very significant discoveries in the last 3 years in areas that people probably wouldn't have thought they were going to have them. And one of them was certainly De Grey. Of course, you've had Chalice with Julimar, who have already spoken here today, and the Irahidi project as well. I had a grumpy old metallurgist that I used to work with, and he said, if it's underexplored, it means there's nothing there. The theory being that if the old timers hadn't come across it, there wouldn't be anything there. Well, we've found that we've got a greenstone belt. We're going to show you that there's plenty of juice in it. It's clearly fertile for nickel sulphides, and it's a matter of us finding the concentrated areas where the enriched nickel is. However, we do have some second prizes as well, so we're very comfortable about where we're heading in that area. So anyway, so look, the other part of that, when I do go through that sort of presentation, is the Pilbara Craton. It's the same age rock, same age Craton, same sort of rocks, same greenstone belts as the Yilgarn Craton, as the northeastern goldfields, etc. So why wouldn't there be any gold there? Similarly, we're in the Yilgarn Craton here. We've got greenstone belts, same age, same rocks. You're going to be surprised if we don't find anything significant. So we've got at the moment an interpreted 80-kilometre contiguous strike. So the tenements are all contiguous, as you can see. As I said, we've put the northern ones in. We are concentrating on Zone A and Zone B that you can see in the middle there. We have certainly seen anomalism. We haven't been able to report everything. As a new company to the exchange, a lot of you would know it's not easy to get assays done. We've done a lot of diamond drilling, so getting core cut, getting it to the assay labs, there have been delays, etc. as well. We haven't reported all the rock chip samples that we have. So there is a series of ASX releases to come through in the near future. But I can say we've certainly got nickel, copper, gold, cobalt, rare earths and lithium, reasonably strong anomalisms across the area. We were talking about it today, some of the total rare earth oxide rock chip samples that you see getting reported at the moment, and markets accepting them and taking them up, and we'd be disappointed if that was all we were getting in some of the rock chip samples we've seen. That will get reported in due time. So look, our priority is that we are chasing massive nickel sulphides. We're finding plenty of disseminated nickel sulphides. As I said, second prize might be a large tonnage, lower grade. And then let's have a look at what lower grade might equal, because we are certainly in an area where we've got komatiite flows. The most famous komatiite flow probably in WA is Yakabindi, Mount Keith. That's been operating pretty successfully, pretty profitably for carts, probably as long as you have been, 45 years or so, I think. So that's looking at grades at sort of the 0.6% nickel. But as we'll find out in a slide further, that there's a lot of projects that are going lower than that, where they're looking at much lower grade nickel. So here it is here. It's a bubble chart. The bubbles on the top left are the massive nickel sulphides. They're the higher grade projects. And you can see relative scale, that's contained nickel. As you move down to the lower right, they're the disseminated sulphide groups. They're lower grades. They're around 0.3 to 0.2% nickel, which doesn't sound overly exciting, but that is where most of the nickel into the future is contained at the moment, at least. And if I use the gold example, people wouldn't have looked at 1 gram a tonne gold 30 years ago. Capricorn are making good money out of 0.8 grams for gold. The biggest gold mine in Australia is currently Boddington, and that's mining at 40 million tonnes per annum at 0.4 grams per tonne. So that's not particularly what we're chasing, but who's to say that it's, certainly I think we're going to have that sort of tonnage and those lower grades. It's not what we're chasing, and who's to say that it's not going to be profitable in due time. And some of those projects in the lower right, they are going through pre-feasibility and feasibility studies at the moment. Obviously always dependent on nickel price. We'd prefer to be in the top left in the first instance. Grade will remain king. There's a lot to be said for having large tonnage open pit projects. So, look, I'm sure these slides have been done to death in terms of what the nickel demand is looking like, what the nickel price might be looking like. We've put a red square across those blue charts. That's basically, it's an estimate that is saying that there's going to be 60 new projects required by 2030. I've got no idea what sort of tonnages those projects are meant to have, but the demand is clearly anticipated to be ongoing, and it's all to do obviously with this EV revolution, as we know. So as noted, the bottom line there is that we're not particularly chasing large tonnage, lower grades, but we certainly have the potential to have both in this system. So look, we'll just run through fairly quickly some of the exploration areas that we are in, and as I said, they're the ones that we've been working on over 6 years or so. So Zone A, we are reporting results on Dease and Godley, as you can see there. There has been exploration previously in the area. It was mainly focused on gold. Dease came through the area looking for diamonds, of course. There's a smattering of old RAB holes. There's some interesting holes, but there hasn't been any focused exploration in this area. So we're probably the first group to put a package of land together like this and to put some focus into it. So, yes, sorry, I'm not as practiced on this as I might be on some other companies, but anyway. Okay, so Zone A, high-grade massive sulphides, what we're looking for there. We've done moving loop electromagnetics. We talk about Dease. This is where we have the Gossan discovery. Look, as I start to struggle a bit technically, anyone who wants any further technical information, please come to the booth and talk to Luke or talk to Fergus, because they'll be able to cover all of this a hell of a lot better than I am. But I would like to touch on the Gossan particularly, which is discovered at Dease, and we're doing some downhole modelling at the moment with that interpretation pending. We're also looking for additional Gossans, but the Gossan itself is 1.1 kilometres long. It's in a horseshoe shape. Where are we? That's the Gossan there. I'll go back to that previous slide. We've been working with an XRF gun, and we haven't liked reporting XRF assays because they're not going to give you accurate outcomes, and you have a tendency to look at a nice spot and point your gun at that, and it doesn't necessarily give you an accurate reading. But we have certainly seen elevated numbers in that Gossan. It was identified at surface. We've drilled through it, which we've announced that it's got 40 metres of gossanous material. We obviously will need to go back and get down deeper and chase it deeper. But I can say, it's in the weathered zone higher up in the system. The results are elevated. Are they substantial? Probably not. But given the zone where it is, we are seeing some elevated results there, and we're really looking forward to getting back and chasing that Gossan. How do I go back here? Probably that one. Okay, back to this slide. So I did say there's a lot of juice in this system. A couple of the holes that we have reported on the Godley prospect there. We've been doing diamond drilling. We've been going deep. One of them's gone as far as 871 metres. But look, we're getting these massive zones. They're very consistent. Are we getting excited about 0.14% nickel? Probably not. But there's 363 metres of it in diamond hole 1, pretty well close to surface once it gets through the overburden cover. Hole 2, there's 426 metres. Hole 4 that we've reported, we haven't reported the results there, but we're expecting them to be similar, pretty well all the way down to the bedrock, which is where we stopped on hole 4. So the potential for a large tonnage, we also drilled some RC holes before we listed. They had similar grades, similar meterages. So the potential for a large tonnage, lower grade nickel project, if that's where we want to head, is certainly there. At the moment, as I say, keep saying, we're looking for the massive sulphides, looking for the higher grade. We're wishing to follow up on the komatiites. We're certainly in a komatiite flow, and we've been reporting magnesium oxide levels as well, where they are elevated. We're getting them up around 30%, which is roughly where you need to be to show a komatiite system. And there's not a lot of komatiites, as I understand it, at least being looked for in WA, because it's been a while since anything significant's been found in that area. So we've touched on that. I could just about finish up here, I think. So conductor plate, yes, we did announce we had 3 conductors. They've been going through some reinterpretation. We did drill one of them. We found elevated copper, silver, nickel values where we expected to hit the conductor. We haven't yet reported those results. The elevated nature of them was from XRF again. So that will be getting reported shortly too. So we've got 3 or 4 different holes coming through, but as shown there, 3 different intervals in that hole of anomalous nickel copper sulphides. So the Godley prospect, and I'll probably just go over and then I can stop. Look, it's drilled from the same area. We've shown, again, long, deep prospects of 0.14% nickel. We've identified the trap at the bottom should be that little diagram on the left, should be underneath. We believe it's tipped to a 69 degree or 61 degree, I think, actually. And we're expecting that if we drill further to what would be the west in that diagram, I'm not sure there, that is where the trap is going to be found. So we're going to be going back into that zone as well. So in very quick summary, it's a large belt. It's a new belt. It's a greenstone belt. It's in the craton. Are we going to find anything? We're spending the money in the ground where it should be being spent. We've got a team that are dedicated and work pretty hard and spend a lot of time up on site. And we're looking forward to the year ahead. So thank you.